Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Marissa Sertich, and I am the Executive Director at the Retail Bakers of America. Thank you so much for joining us today at this RBA webinar, Brewing Up Success, and implementing a successful beverage program. For anyone who may be new to RBA, we're a national trade association for retail bakeries and retail bakers. Our mission is to support bakery owners, professionals, also educators and students through connection, education, and certification, really helping strengthen this and sustain the retail baking industry. Today's conversation focuses on a topic that has become increasingly important for bakeries across the country, beverage programs. For many bakeries, beverages have become more than just an add-on. A thoughtful beverage program, as many of you know, whether it's specialty coffee, espresso drinks, or creative beverage menus, can increase average ticket size, attract new customers, and create more reasons for people to visit your bakery throughout the day. In today's session, we'll hear directly from bakery owners who have built successful beverage programs in their own businesses. They'll share what's worked for them, what didn't, and practical insights for bakeries that are considering launching or expanding beverage offerings. We're fortunate to have three fantastic panelists with us. Thank you for joining us. First, we have Angela, owner of Cocotte Bakery in North Carolina. We have Kara, owner of the Flower Shop Bakery in Texas, and also Shalane, owner of Woodstone Bakery and Cafe in Georgia, who has also spoken about this topic at IBIE as well. So thank you so much for being here and for sharing your experiences with the RBA community. Before we jump in, just a couple of quick notes for our attendees. Please feel free to drop questions in the chat or Q&A as we go. We will do our best to leave time at the end to answer audience questions. Today's session will be recorded and posted on RBA Connect for anyone who would like to revisit the content. Let's get started. I'd love each of our panelists to do just a quick introduction of themselves and let us know in their words who they are and where they're coming from. So, Angela, let's start with you.
Hi everybody. My name is Angela. I moved from France in 2016 and opened my first French bakery in Savannah, Georgia, with my husband, who is the baker. Uh, it's been over a little bit 2 years that we opened Cocotte in now North Carolina, Lake Norman. And for both of the businesses, our concept was not just a bakery. We have a full breakfast and lunch offer, and we, since the beginning, started with a full beverage menu, coffee, and sodas.
Great, thank you. Shalane.
Yes, my name is Shalane Brown. I'm in the Metro Atlanta area. Our first concept was Apple Butter Bakery, and we just did mainly custom cakes, wedding cakes. And we were open like 11 to 7, so kind of just lunchtime hours. But we had the opportunity to open our second location with Stone Bakery and Cafe in Fayetteville, Georgia, about 4 years ago. And we knew that was a walkable area. They would want breakfast or that type of thing. So we changed our concept for that one to have coffee, tea, and then some more like breakfast options. So we're mainly walk in, walk out, but we also have small dining area for people to dine in as well.
Okay, thank you. And Kara.
Hi everyone. I have a bakery in the Dallas-Fort Worth area called the Flower Shop. We have been open now for almost 15 years. Several years into that, so our beverage programs came later, about 6 or 7 years into being open, we added coffee. And just this past May, so about 9-ish months ago, we added a full liquor license as well. So we do a little bit of everything. We are a full scratch bakery still as well. And yeah.
So I'd like to start us off by asking, I know some of you started your concepts with a beverage program and some of you implemented it later. But how did you decide that you were going to implement a beverage program, whether it was at the start or later on? And if anyone can jump in. Maybe Kara, let's start with you.
Sure. It's something that we wanted from the very beginning, but we didn't want to incur even more costs back in the very beginning when we first started it and had just spent all the money building and doing all of that. So we did look into it, but we ended up not joining at that time, not adding it at that time. We moved to a second location or a bigger location, I'm sorry, in 2017. So we opened originally in 2011 with a very small location. Moved to a much larger location in 2017, and it was then when we realized we needed something. Our hours didn't necessarily change. We've been open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. at that time. So not necessarily that we were getting early coffee people at 5 and 6 and 7 o'clock in the morning, but still people wanted something to drink with their pastries. And so we knew we needed to add something. So a couple years after moving is when we first added the coffee program, which took a while to take off, honestly, and still, even I would say, still kind of taking off because we were known for so long as just a bakery. We weren't a place where you got coffee. And so I think marketing is a really big deal on how to get that word out there that we've added that type of thing. We've spent a lot more time and money on making sure everybody knows that we have alcohol now than we ever did when we added coffee. And so then again, now almost at that point, 13 years into it, that we were just looking for some growth, trying to figure out how to stay relevant. We've got this huge space. I'm in 3,100 square feet. And so I'm in a huge space with a lot of seating and have always kind of struggled with what to do with all of that space. And so every year we try to figure out what that growth is for that year or what we're going to do. And this time around, a couple years ago, we decided to look into opening or adding a bar to it and getting a full liquor license. We now stay open. The bakery technically closes at 6 o'clock, and we now on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we're actually open until midnight now, and turn into kind of what we call a speakeasy or a cocktail lounge. After the bakery closes, it becomes 21 and up. And we just are a bar at that point. And we have mocktails, coffee service still all day long, pastries all day long, but we have changed in that way for it.
We're definitely going to talk about staffing and stuff later, so I have questions
Yeah.
about that. But my first question that comes to mind is, do you think in retrospect, do you think it's more challenging or less challenging to open up a beverage program later on in your business development, or versus having done it at the start, since there's that like marketing component in building awareness?
For us, I do wish that I would have done it sooner, at least the coffee, not the alcohol. The coffee, I do wish, and maybe the other young ladies can speak to that if they started with it, or I think Angela said she's always had coffee. And so I do wish that I would have started earlier just so that it was a staple. It was something that you knew us for. And now, again, just always trying to get you to come here for coffee is what we feel like we're trying to do is make you come here for coffee when it's not just your natural place to go because there's other coffee shops and we've got a lot of the drive-through ones. I don't know if everybody has those where you are, but we've got those popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
And so it just changes things. So
Shalane, do you
Yeah, I
want
can kind of speak to that. Yeah. And so our first concept, apple butter, we opened in our brick and mortar in 2013. Again, just desserts, cupcakes, cookies, and then you can order, custom cakes. We always had like a drip coffee or tea and hot chocolate, very like easy thing to get started with. And it wasn't really selling that well. And so then we decided a few years later, maybe 5 or 6 years in, to start doing espresso. But it, again, wasn't really catching on. And again, we were open at 11, so we kind of missed that morning crowd. However, when we opened Woodstone as a bakery and cafe, and this also happened after my husband opened up his own coffee and tea bar. So we had that experience and that notoriety in the city. And so then this is our second coffee kind of concept. It was much easier. So it was at that point, I don't know, we were probably doing 60% of our sales was from coffee, versus maybe less than 1% of our sales at our original location was coffee. So it was night and day. So I do think kind of branding yourself early on with coffee will help. versus, us trying to be a bakery and then adding it later. It's not impossible. Just in our story, it was much harder for us to be taken seriously kind of for coffee than when we started it all together.
And I think from my end, like it's really we have like three different positions with our businesses in Savannah and here in Lake Norman. When I started with my bakery, it was already branded French bakery and cafe. So in our customer mind, this was already a place to have a coffee and a croissant. Uh, we do everything from scratch, coffee probably like 10 to 15% of our sales is still like um, minor compared to the rest. That is, I want to say that probably 90% of our customer goes in with a coffee. They also get a pastry box for $200, but they all have a coffee. So it can come at the beginning or later. Obviously, it's easier, I think, with already in everybody's mind that the place is a coffee shop and a bakery serving food. But it can always be added later. And as you say, Shalene, you have like just the drip coffee. You started with that. I think this is really the bare minimum we have to offer to our customer. Just to go with something to start the day, coffee or tea. But implementing and adding espresso machine, there is several options and solution for different kind of businesses is something to think about. Marissa, you're gonna engage as well in staffing probably later, but I think it's doable and for sure a plus for a bakery, or at the least we have sort of having sittings. Like what Haskar, you were saying, you have sitting for your customer. You need them to stay and have a beverage program.
Great, thank you. I think one of the, first thoughts that come up when someone's going to implement a new program is the cost involved, and what realistically people can budget for when implementing a program like this, and also speaking to the ROI, the possible return on implementing that, I think is important. So would we jump in to kind of talk a little bit about the real costs involved, maybe what are some of the largest purchases, whether it be equipment or training, ingredients, staffing? What are the largest costs involved with starting a program like this?
Yeah, I can go. So because of my husband, he already had developed some relationships with different manufacturers of the espresso machines. So we got a really good deal. So I'm going to preface that. Had a really good deal. So we spent about 12,000 on equipment. Um, but retail, it would have been closer to 25,000 for the equipment. So I would say, go to these trade shows, kind of meet people, and try to get the best cost available because there are deals out there. So equipment is about 12,000. Training is an ongoing cost. And so every new barista we get, I've estimated it takes about 800 to $1,000 per barista because instead of having a shift of two people, we now have three because you can't sacrifice your customer service, right? And so you have to have someone dedicated there to train. And depending on how quick they are, it can take a week, it can take a month for a barista to be very like competent in what they're doing. So we try to have baristas stay on about a year. Our average is about maybe 2 years, but then you also have baristas that realize that this isn't for me and they leave after 3 months. And so you have to kind of keep that idea in your head that they might not stay there. But that also depends on what kind of equipment. We use semi-automatic equipment. So if you get something manual, that's going to be even longer time training. Or if you get something that's like super automatic, you kind of just press a button, your training is like it's easy. And so, but those machines can be a lot more expensive. So you have to kind of think of, do I want to spend a lot of money on, more high-tech equipment and maybe less on training or vice versa?
That I'm going to be like with three location opening. First thing I want to say, please don't go with like the semi-pro you can find online, just go with a commercial espresso machine. I started with that to do savings. Believe me, it will not work for commercial use. It will not work, and at the end, you're gonna spend more than necessary. I started the first in Savannah with a traditional barista machine. Similarly, it was used. You can find really good used machine, refurbished. Just find like a good provider in your area. Make sure that you have a warranty. As Shalene, you say, training takes time. There is a lot of turnover in a bakery and coffee shop industry. So this is something you want to think about. When I opened my second location, I went for a super automatic one. So we still have to froth the milk, but the espresso will be grinded and pour, as you say, pressing a button. So right now I can literally train someone making drinks in one day. The rest is just practice, mixing the flavor, the ratio, milk temperature, but it's really easy. So that helps me a lot with staffing. If someone, as you say, decide this is not for me, I can easily train someone else. What I do also in my location, I have actually 25 employees, probably 12 in the front of the house. Everybody is trained on everything, on sales, on the POS, and the barista side. That helps me with the scheduling because we can rotate shifts. It's also more fun and interesting for the team because they can do everything. And you can change during the day so you don't get bored. The super automatic machine as well offer consistency, whereas the traditional barista setup, I remember in Savannah, so like 9 years ago, some customer regulars were asking, "Oh, I want this barista to make my drink because it's not the same that when it's someone else." You don't have this issue with the super automatic. And as far as pricing, as I'm actually opening my second location, I'm looking an average of $18,000 for a brand new machine, super automatic, which require like low maintenance. The maintenance is really easy. I have mine for 2 years already. That's why I'm going to continue with that. And using the super automatic espresso machine, I say that too many times. You don't need a grinder. Everything is inside. So you are removing one equipment to purchase, as well thinking about space. If you have a small bakery, you might not have the space to have and a drip coffee and an espresso machine and a grinder. So something to consider as well.
Kara, would you like to speak to how you made your equipment decisions at the start?
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to speak to a couple things. Also, I'll speak to the cost of the alcohol in case anybody's interested in that as well, because I think I'm the only one who has it. But so our machine, we have just a two head espresso machine. I don't know, again, size wise is going to make a difference as well. Our machine we got brand new was about 10,000, so about that same. But that again, as Angela said, didn't include the grinder and all the other things that come with that. But we also do have a manual machine. So every single shot is hand weighed, hand tamped, and timed when it pulls as well. We have to dial in every single day to make sure that it's pulling properly. And so it is more work what we're doing as well. I've not tried a manual machine, but it sounds amazing. And so all in all, the biggest thing too that I wanted to speak about, especially if you're adding these programs after the fact, is the cost of the construction. That's a big one. And that's the biggest thing that we faced in adding the bar. So that is the biggest ticket item that I have, is having to remodel my space to be able to have it as a bar, to have as many sinks as I need and a dishwasher and all of the drains and all of that. And same thing when you're adding the coffee. If you're not already set up with all the drains that you need and all that plumbing, then that is going to be a huge cost that you'll have to do. So if you are in the beginning stages, even if you don't want to buy the machine, I would still consider talking to your contractors and figuring out how to make your plumbing and your drain system up front working so that later on you can add coffee or any type of beverage system that you want, because having to tear up the floors again when you've already done it is a huge expense. And then so again, that's where my the biggest part of my expense came with adding the liquor license. Was we had to build a bar. We were just a bakery, so we had the we had the drainage and everything for an espresso machine, but that wasn't near enough for what we needed to have a full bar. And again, every state is going to be somewhat different too, but in Texas, at least, we have to have two dump sinks and a hand sink and a three compartment sink, all up front, not to mention all the dishwasher. We have a dishwasher in the kitchen, but it wouldn't work for the bar. So we had to add another one up front as well. And so all of that was a huge cost. All in all, for me at least, again, everybody is different. Our liquor license, legal fees and everything was about $5,000 or $6,000. I have so far spent about $15,000 on alcohol, and that's in 10 months. I've spent about $15,000 buying alcohol, and we have brought in about $50,000 in 10 months. Um, and so obviously that's new. We've spent that much on alcohol, but some of those bottles are still sitting there. And that's the good thing with it, is that it's not going to go bad. So even if I spent, some bottles are $10 and some bottles are $200. And even if I spent $200 on a bottle, it's not going to go bad. So it's going to sit there till people buy it, and or that we hope that they buy it. And so those are the expenses that we have seen. Training too, especially for bartenders. That brings a whole other thing too that I know we'll talk about staffing, but that's a whole other thing of training for that. Not only do we have to train our baristas, but we now have to train bartenders. And same thing with, as everybody else has said, is that everybody up front does everything. So they've all got for us, a TABC license, which allows them to serve alcohol. So everybody that works up front for me can make both coffee and alcohol beverages now.
Great. Thank you, Kara. We had a question come up, and it is interesting, when developing the beverage program, where did you all get your training? I mean, if you are bakers by trade or front of house managers, whatever it might be, maybe you didn't have experience with coffee or bartending. Um, how did you gain your expertise to then implement these programs?
Yeah,
For
well,
me,
go ahead, Angela.
I mean, you're cheating because your husband is in the coffee industry.
I was gonna say before him, but yes, this is true.
But I think what I'm gonna say is gonna pair with probably with you. So when I started, I drink coffee. I have no idea how to make a coffee, how to make a latte, a cappuccino, a mocha, and even less to train someone. As a local bakery, I always like to support local businesses. So I started since day one with a local coffee roaster, which really nicely trained me and passed me the knowledge. And I've been able as well to do mini session for my new staff. And then as soon as we all get enough knowledge to pass on the barista training, it was all good. But to start a local coffee roaster, for me were super helpful when I was in Georgia and now in North Carolina. So I would like to say, don't, you can still look videos and learn here and there, but there are professionals for that. So if you have them in their hand, use them.
Mm.
I definitely second that. The um a quality specialty coffee roaster would be your best friend in this journey. So before Daniel got into coffee, we went to their actual roastery. They had like a whole setup there in the back. So they took our entire team there, taught us what we need to know, taught us how to dial in, how to pull espresso, milk theory, all that stuff. And so they'll typically, I don't know about all the time, but do it for free as long as you're, buying your beans from them. So that's not necessarily an additional cost. Um, and then also, I think it'll be great to intentionally try to hire a lead barista or potentially a manager for your front of house who has extensive coffee knowledge. So if they've already been in the industry, then they can train the rest of your team as well.
Kara, do you want to jump in on how you got
Same. I
your
mean,
training?
as far as flavors and things like that are concerned, that is what we're doing in the kitchen, at least here, so coming up with flavor combinations and stuff. I actually didn't drink coffee most of my life. So I didn't start drinking coffee pretty much until I added it as to a beverage program here, and fell in love with it. I always say now that I had just never had a good cup of coffee. And so we had the same experience, found a local roaster who came here actually so that they could train us on our machine in an hour environment. So they came to us to do training, and we'll continue. We've had them out a few times over the years, um, to when we've had turnover and things like that and need to train new people. Same thing with the bar. Again, we're just mixing flavors. I do have a bar manager, and so really he does most of it. Honestly, not me, as far as coming up with all the different drinks and creating new flavors, profiles for things and stuff like that. So hire people that can do it.
Yeah.
You
And that
can't do it
actually
all.
leads beautifully into our conversation about staffing. How did adding beverages change your staffing model in your businesses?
For us, I'll go. For us, it didn't. It in the coffee world didn't necessarily change us that much, because we had somebody come out and train our existing staff. We did hire then people who had experience, but they came out and showed everybody that was already with us. And so over since then, it has just been about making that intentional in our ads when we are hiring. Is that we want you to have barista experience now. That wasn't a requirement prior, but it is now.
Hmm.
And so that the coffee part of it didn't change a ton for us. Again, as I've said before, the alcohol is what changed it. And that because that's a whole other set of laws and a whole other set of rules that you have to go by that coffee doesn't require of you. Alcohol is a completely different thing. And so it is very important to me that I have a bar manager. I
Mhm.
can run a bakery and a coffee program, or my front of the house manager can, but having somebody to run my bar is a bigger deal for me,
Mhm.
because of all that comes with serving alcohol.
Yeah. Charlene and Angela, do you want to speak to staffing at all and training?
Yeah, with the addition to coffee for us, it did greatly increase our foot traffic. And so at our first location, when it was just a bakery, our front of house was also back of house. And so it was an open concept. We had an open kitchen. So, someone would go from making cakes to when someone comes in, helping a customer, ringing them out. But now that we do have a beverage program, we have 2 to 3 dedicated baristas just to make drinks and check out customers and that sort of thing. So it has greatly increased our staffing. So we went from a team of 6 to a team of 20. And then also, just with the nature of coffee shops and tips are a large portion of income that it wasn't really before when it was, just baked goods. And so that has also been something that we had to figure out, okay, we're also going to split tips with our back of house, our bakers as well. So that's something that we did not anticipate tips being a large part of um, our our staffing and our payroll.
Angela, do you want to speak to staffing and how that impacts even um, number of employees, time of days that you're open?
Yeah, like the staffing has like the different the different the choice of equipment will it really impact your staffing. Has Shalene, if you have like or Kara as well, if you have like a barista machine, you really need someone full time on it. If it's not one, probably 2 people for that. It takes time. So you need strong people for that position. With the super automatic I use, um, on the weekend we're sometimes 9 to 10 behind the counter cells, so anyone can jump in, which make it really easy. In regard of the menu, so we are mainly a bakery, so as all of you ladies, I'm assuming that we have like we seasonal. We work with the main holidays, Valentine's Day, Easter, Christmas, and Thanksgiving that are crazy. So we do not pair the drinks with the pastry or the food menu like we'll do in a restaurant, wine with the fish or the meats. But we do have a seasonal barista latte menu that change depending of the season. Like right now, it's St. Patrick's, so we're playing with the green, funny names. We're going to switch really quick to spring and getting ready for Easter. This is something that keep our customer attention, bring traffic. Our regulars there are they know our drinks and are always looking for what's coming next. Also, as far as for our beverage sales, the seasonal latte are always best sellers. And we charge plus $1 for the seasonal latte. I also invite my team, so all the front of the house have fun to work on the seasonal menu, which basically will be a mix of flavors and colors with seasonal names. So this is a moment where you can share with your team and give them like the voice and participate on a little bit part of decision that's happening to the bakery, to the business. So involving the team to that, I think it's also really great.
Yeah, I'm sure that feels like a added benefit as an employee.
Mm-hmm.
Feel like you have a voice and that sort of say in the creativity
Yeah.
of
And
the
I mean,
menu.
sometimes we try some drinks and sometimes they're terrible, even the one I had in mind. That's why we test. We also follow the trends, sure, because I mean, you want rose for Valentine. Right now, I have what is it? I step out of my mind, but you pumpkin for fall. You know, like there is like big trends that you need to follow, and this will always work. Sometimes you don't need to be like too much creative. That's might not work. Sometimes simple works as well.
Kind of going to jump around in my questions here because this leads really well into talking about kind of the beverage landscape and what it looks like. And are there certain trends that people should be paying attention to right now? Non-coffee options, matcha, whatever it might be, that you're seeing in your businesses, in your areas. I know geographically you're all in different places, so it might vary. But what are you seeing in your markets?
I think really for sure you need to have a non-dairy milk option for drinks, for the coffee, because there is a lot of demand on that. On my end, I only offer oat milk and almond milk. I used to have coconut and soy, but that was too much. Storage-wise as well. The good thing is that this milk are shelf stable, so it doesn't take space in cold storage, something to think about. Um, Matcha, it's a big trend that I decided to not have in my location. I used to have it, but it's a pretty expensive uh, ingredient uh, compared to the demand I have and the training it requires because it's a special. It's different than you don't use espresso machine. There's a technique to make your matcha. For me, it wasn't worth to have it on my menu compared to the little demand I have. It's a choice.
Yeah, for us. We also, like Angela said, like the trends, we try to keep up with them because we try to just follow like what's trending on social media because people are looking for that anyway. So might as well offer what the people are looking for. And so one of our biggest sellers last year was the Dubai chocolate latte, and everybody was looking for it. And then, of course, it's seasonal, so we took it off, and people are still asking for us to bring it back. And so those things, it just drives revenue, right? Without really having to do much, other than just making an option. We do offer matcha, and it's crazy because I don't know if it's just a trend or people are actually like going to keep the matcha sales up, but like, Japan is having a matcha shortage and the cost for 1 kilo is like $185 for matcha. It is very expensive. So it is more expensive than espresso. So I think it technically cost us maybe an extra 8 cents. But then we charge extra 50 cents for a matcha latte versus a cafe latte. But for our sales, and again, a large portion of our sales is coffee. So lattes are our top seller. And I think our lattes make up about 10% of our overall sales, our revenue. And then our matcha lattes is like the runner up. So it's our second bestseller. At around, I believe, 6% of our sales is matcha. And so it is a little bit different, but it is easier to batch as well. So where you can't really batch espresso, I know some cafes do it. In all of your espresso drinks, you make them one at a time. You can pre-batch matcha. You have to be very specific about how you do it because you can mess it up. But that helps as well, especially if it's like an iced matcha. You don't have to use the espresso machine, so that is a way that you can kind of get drinks out a little bit quicker. You just add like 2 ounces. It's kind of more of like a bar setup. You add 2 ounces, ice, their choice of milk and flavor. So you can get those out a little bit quicker, especially in the spring and summer. And so matcha has done really well for us. We do try to play around with um, our flavors to match trends. And like Angela says, I let the baristas kind of come up with a thing, and they love creating new seasonal drinks. And so, yeah, it's been really great for us, especially the matcha.
Thanks. Kara, do you want to jump in on some of your non-coffee options? I know you jumped in the chat there. People were asking about lemonades and those sorts of drink alternatives.
Yeah, of course. So yes, we do. We also have matcha, and it does really well for us too. So we do sell that. We also found a local tea supplier that we use for we use his teas for both hot and iced tea. So we sell both of those. We make house-made lemonade, house-made limeade. We also have something called a Lotus energy drink, which I'm not really completely sure. It's a mix that we buy that we add to and add different flavor profiles to. We also have a protein powder from a local gym that's out here, and we sell protein coffees, which have done pretty well. And so we will do anything. And again, we've got that full. We've got cocktails, mocktails, beer, wine. Um, we got it all. And then somebody asked recently too about syrup. Sorry to jump in on that, but we make all of our syrups in house as well. So everything that we do, if it's a syrup or puree, doesn't matter, coffee or alcohol, we make everything here.
I'd love to do like a quick fire round of like your dairy alternatives and your top three syrups. Okay, could we let's do that. Angela, I know you said your non-dairy were oat milk and soy.
Wheat milk and almonds being is the selection I made because there's the two that I have most demand for.
Mhm.
Coconut really little. Soy it's a big demand as well, but it was just my choice for storage and space. Wise to pick only two. I see a question about the classic flavors. I mean, I think we all agree, like, we all need vanilla. I literally order like a case of a dozen of vanilla because unfortunately I don't do the syrup in house. I use the brand Monel to pair with my French bakery. And yeah, I go through a case a week just for the vanilla. Hazelnut and caramel would be, I think, the really classic. Lavender as well. And something to think about is to have sugar-free option. Not the main demand, but like for our baked goods, some people will require for nut-free, egg-free, vegan options. Sugar-free syrup will be something customer will look for.
Great, thank you. Shalane.
For us, we offer oat milk, almond milk, and macadamian,
Mm.
which we just got a sample from our supplier, and I think it's way better than almond, just personally. So that's my drink of choice. Um, in addition to, our regular dairy, the whole milk, 2%, half and half. And then for syrups, we also make all of our syrups in-house with the exception of the sugar-free syrups. We do purchase sugar-free syrups. But our most popular is vanilla, brown sugar, and then whichever seasonal one that we're doing. So right now it would be the lavender is very, very popular. Oh, and strawberry. The strawberry pairs very well with the matcha. Not
Mhm.
really coffee, but with the matcha.
Yeah. Our milk alternatives are the same as Angela's. We only have oat and almond, and then we only have whole milk. We, of course, have cream, so we can do half and half, but we don't carry any other dairy milks besides whole. Every once in a while, we get a request, but very rarely do we get anybody that asks for 2% or skim or something like that. Syrup-wise, vanilla for us as well. Definitely the number one. So for us, vanilla, brown sugar, and then lavender. So pretty much the same for all of us, which is crazy to me. And I agree too with you, Shalane, that the strawberry matcha is very popular. We have
Top
a
tier.
wedding cake latte that's almond and raspberry that we sell a lot of. And so, yeah, those are the most popular for us too.
In
We don't have
regard of,
sugar-free syrup either.
I wanted to jump like on you say about the 1% and 2% milk. I do have it at the shop, just a 2% and whole milk, but to give you like an idea, I go get 60 gallon of milk a week, whole milk, and for the same week I will only buy 2 gallon of 2%. So just to give you an idea of what it is. Yeah.
And then do you think that there's a trend that people should kind of be watching right now in terms of beverages and flavor, either flavors or alternatives, anything like that?
Yeah, I would say when we were deciding on our oat milk provider, um, I was surprised in how many people asked if what brand oat milk because of the different seed oils that may or may not be in it. And so I think as we're getting more information on things that are good for us and not so good. And so, of course, people are thinking, oh, oat milk is better for me, or I can tolerate it better than dairy. But if your oat milk does have these kind of hidden seed oils that are, could be inflammatory, just to be careful about what type of alternative milks you're getting. And if that is a part of your market's kind of concerns, just trying to find the cleanest labels options that you can. And then, of course, like the sugar free. I think more people are going more high protein, so offering that protein powder or protein milk um, and doing high protein, low sugar, I think is a trend that we're not going to kind of get rid of anytime soon.
Great. And then I was curious also in your approach to your beverage menus, how much do you think about pairing those products with your bakery goods? And maybe that's a question also for Kara with the alcohol menu as well. With
Sure. Yeah.
the
We don't think about it that much with coffee, to be honest with you. We don't think about them as pairings as much as we think about what flavors worked well in a dessert. It will probably work well in coffee as well. In a lot of cases, back to that wedding cake latte that I said, that's also one of our most popular cake and cupcake flavors is an almond cake with raspberry filling, vanilla buttercream. So then translating it into coffee was easy. We already have all those things on hand also. And so putting them in our coffee didn't mean us having to bring in anything new or extra ingredients for just one thing. And so that was good for us as well. The alcohol we do pair a lot more. One thing that has been successful for us, we've only done a couple because we're still new, but we'll continue our food pairings where we have brought in a guest chef into our kitchen, kind of like a takeover, if you will, that cooks that we then pair those cocktails or that spirit with. We've got for March 14th, 314, we're doing something that we've done for years called Pie Palooza, which is like an all-you-can-eat pie event. And we have created pie-themed cocktails as well. So we have a lemon meringue martini and a Boston cream pie martini. And so it works well for us with that, is how we pair things together.
Okay, we just got a question in from Randy about paper goods and what size coffee drinks is everybody offering?
That's a good question that I struggled a little bit when I started the business in 2016. As well, knowing that I was coming from France, I was not familiar with all this Starbucks coffee trend that we have here. And I got up since. To make my life easier, I only have two sizes. 12 and 20. Also something to think about, it's a cold ice drink. So we have to duplicate, and I have a 16 and 20 for the ice drink.
Shalane, how do
For
you approach
us,
sizing?
yeah. So for us, even though I disagree, my husband wanted to do very traditional sizing. And so, for our cappuccinos and flat whites, it's 8 ounce. And then for our lattes, it's a 12 ounce, and those are hot. And then if they get it iced, our flat white iced would be a 12 ounce, and then our iced latte would be a 16 ounce. Oh, and then we also do like your cortados or espresso. And so we do have like the 4 ounce cups for those or macchiatos, that sort of thing.
Okay, thank you.
We only offer one size and one size only. I've got one to go cup, one hot to go cup, and one cold to go cup, and nothing else. I mean, obviously,
What
if they
size is
drink
that?
here, they're 12 ounces.
Oh, ounce. Okay.
And obviously, if they drink it here, it's in a ceramic, it's a cappuccino is a proper cappuccino and so forth. Cortado is properly served in the right glassware. But to go, you get one.
Yes, ordering, inventory, and storage, it's something. So yeah, one size sounds great. So I love it. After, as you said, for the traditional drink, when you start a coffee beverage program, so we're all here because we mainly are bakery, and we're just adding coffee. We are not like a purist, like this is not our specialty. Get ready to have some really weird requests from customers. A large cappuccino with extra shots. So making a 20-ounce cappuccino with extra shots. So 4 shots, it's for me far away from a cappuccino. It's just 4 shots of espresso with milk. But we listen and try to answer the best to our customers. So unfortunately, yes, sometimes we go a little away of the path of the traditional and classic coffee drinks. Something to accept.
I've
Yeah,
heard a
we
lot.
do get a lot of requests from people who want us to offer larger sizes, like the 20 ounce. And so that's the part I technically disagree with my husband on, but he's also our coffee director. And so because I am not a coffee specialist, I kind of refer back to him. So we just do standard prices, but I will add that to say that there's a demand for larger cup sizes. But again, that's just another cup size to keep in stock. And it's a whole thing. So we just opted not to do it.
We got a great question. We haven't covered pricing yet in our conversation, and I'd love to hear about how you developed your pricing strategy for your beverages, and maybe giving people a price point for your like a classic latte.
But the pricing, I think, will differ depending on where you are. Like a latte in New York won't be the same that here in Savannah. So this is a really tough question. I think when we don't know, the best thing to do is just to look around. What are the other coffee shop, particularly like the main chain and successful chains of coffee? What are their pricing, size, and option? Just to start with a guide, uh, and then try to, if possible, estimate the cost of your drink and see what will be your margin. But not being crazy, yeah, not being crazy, follow what is doing locally, except if you have something really exceptional and something that will differentiate you from others using a really fancy ingredient. Yes, otherwise I will just stay in the same bracket.
And I think to add that your roaster should be able to help with that as well, I would
Yeah.
think, as far as helping you figure out the pricing for your market where you are.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, I agree. When I first started, I did just kind of look at the specialty coffee shops around me and kind of match those prices. Since opening, I've been a little bit more particular about our costs, so I can share like the cost of our like latte, and that's the highest one. So, um, our coffee, like the actual two shots of espresso, cost us 41 cents. And this is just obviously food costs, not labor. 10 ounces of whole milk is 23 cents. The lid is 3 cents, our label is 3 cents, and our 12-ounce hot cup is 5 cents. And so uh, our total cost for a latte is 75 cents, and then we charge $5 for that. And so our food cost is around 16%. And now that is based on like our milk, our coffee blend. We use a Brazilian and a Colombian. So depending on what kind of coffee you like to serve, that price might change. Um, but even if our pricing didn't work, we would try to change what we're offering to make it not a sticker shock for our customers. Because if they're used to going to the coffee shop down the street and they're charging $4 for a latte, but we're charging five, we don't want it to be such of a stark difference. So maybe we would change the milk provider or our coffee blend to try to stay within the market range. Where we do splurge is our in-house flavors because not a lot of places make their own flavors in-house. And so we capitalize off of that. And so our strawberry syrup that we make with fresh strawberries and sugar and vanilla and all that, we charge $1.50 for that. And that's also where we make a lot of our money. And of course, if it's an alternative milk, we'll charge an extra dollar for that as well. And so where we try to keep our prices in line is with just your standard latte or cappuccino. And then where we kind of get a little more creative and, upcharge would be in our house-made syrups.
Great. We have a little less than 10 minutes here. And there are several questions in the Q&A I'd like to get to also. Um, Rick is asking, what is the total cost of the build out, including equipment, and estimated? Um, I don't know if anyone wants to jump in and talk about like investment. I know we talked about individual pieces of equipment. And I know it will vary depending on space and
Yeah.
things like that, but from
Yeah,
your
that's a hard one
personal,
too.
yeah,
Yeah, because
experience.
it definitely is going to vary based on where you are, first generation, second generation, on your space. So many different factors are going to go into that. I can say that my first one was in 1,300 square feet is what we built out. The only equipment really we bought were refrigerations, freezers, ovens. Those were the big things besides, I guess, a mixer. Um, and our first build out all in, but then this was 15 years ago. So that was a long time ago too for pricing. But we spent about 150,000 the first time. Probably spent that the second time moving to a second location. But again, we spent that again and we brought all that equipment with us. And so we still spent the same amount of money, even though we didn't buy half of the equipment does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah.
No, that's our experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as I'm opening my second location right now, well, the differences will be like more like a coffee shop because my main bakery will be the main production location of production and will deliver every day. So I'm literally building a coffee shop setup with a prep fridge and everything. So it's a black shell. The estimate cost for all of that, and knowing that I will have a tenant allowance from my landlord, it's I think 2,700, not counting equipment. We can on top of that add easily, I think 50 to 70K just for equipment and furniture, and then like decoration and first inventory. But to start fresh is a little bit less than 2,000 square feet. We're talking about 3,000 K to start from scratch zero. Right now, I don't even have the concrete slab. It's supposed to be poured today, so let's see. Yeah,
Yeah, our cafe was a whole dark shell. So that means no floors,
yeah,
there's no
same things.
plumbing, there's nothing. And so I don't know how much it would have been just to add the coffee spot, but everything all in for construction was about 300,000. And then for equipment, it was like 90, let's just say 100,000. Um, and so We did get a TI allowance of I think 100,000. So that was nice. But all in about 400 thousand for
Yeah.
I mean, it's expensive. If you get a like white box, it's going to be a lot less than that because we had to pay for the concrete, we had to pay for the insulation, the plumbing, like all that stuff. And so like the HVAC was like 50,000, something like that. It was crazy. So if you
Yeah.
can find a space that is already, um, a second generation space or was previously a cafe or restaurant or something, you're gonna come out better. Because our second location, um, it was previously a restaurant. It's not a cafe, but we turned it into a larger facility, and we only spent like 80,000 for that. So it'll change depending on your space. And our cafe is 1,100 square feet, so pretty small for that much money.
Yeah. Okay, I think we probably have time for like one or two more questions. Um, we have Bob who's asking about branded cups and do you use them or how do you market or brand your coffee beverages?
We put stickers on ours. We found that the cost of having them printed and then having to find storage for them because they make you have huge minimums if you want them custom printed. And we're just not that size of a of an operation for that. I'd love to be, but we're not. So we put stickers on all of our stuff,
Mhm.
which is the same about a 2 to 3 cent sticker that goes on every cup,
Right.
which now makes your cup 8 to 9 cents or so, all in, I guess. I mean, maybe even up to 10 with a lid and a straw and all the things.
Yeah, trying
Yeah,
to
same
save.
for
Yeah. I didn't use a sticker, but trying to save money, I started to stamp my sleeves for coffee. Uh, it's fun at the beginning, and I quickly abandoned the idea of doing that, also having no time to do it. So right now I use just plain a paper cut, but probably plan to go to the custom one. The chance I have is I also have a second business with it's a distribution company just for flour with my husband. Is the founder, so I have a storage and lot of space to keep my 10,000 cups of coffee. But yeah,
Shalane, what do you do for branding?
Yes, and we use stickers now. I am planning to get our branded things, but now that we have the space to keep them because we have four different cups, two hot, two cold, and it's 10,000 minimum per size. So that would have been 40,000 cups we would have to store. And so now that we have the space, we will be getting branded cups. But for the past 4 years, we've been just using stickers.
Right.
trick that can help as well is just instead of customizing your cups, you can just customize your sleeves and use them for cold and hot beverages. So you can put your brand everything with only one custom product.
Great. Any last minute words of wisdom for folks looking to venture into this world?
And for the coffee menu, I want to say yes, yes, it's a plus. We all, the three of us, we all mentioned that it's a plus for our business. It attracts more customer. I want to say like the choice of equipment is really the first thing to look at. Take time. It's okay. Compare online. Compare with other coffee shops. Go ask a different owner what they use, what they do. They probably try different brand that they didn't like. They usually are connected with the fabricants, so they're good insight for you. And yeah, start with the classic and then try to find your own voice in the coffee drinks with your specialty menu that will merge with your identity.
Shalane had mentioned in the chat the Coffee Expo happening in San Diego. I'm a big advocate of attending trade shows. IBIE in Las Vegas has equipment that's also on the coffee side, and kind of going out and exploring all of those industry resources is very helpful. So. We're at time. I can't believe it. That was a quick hour. Thank you all Angela, Shalane, Kara for joining us today and sharing your expertise and the kind of the inside and out of your beverage programs and your businesses. Thank you very much. Thank you to all the attendees. We hope that you attend more RBA events. If you check out the website, retailbakersofamerica.org, and look at the events tab, there's a lot of great webinars and in-person events coming up. As always, these webinars are free for RBA members. So if you're not a member, we encourage you to join this incredible supportive community of bakers. So thank you very much, everybody, and have a great rest of the afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Bye,
everyone.
guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.